And without further ado, I'd like to introduce and invite up our keynote speaker. Ed Lantz is an entrepreneur, entertainment technology engineer, producer, and immersive experience designer. Ed left aerospace engineering in 1990 to transform old-style planetariums into immersive visualization environments, designing over a dozen dome theaters worldwide. His company, Vortex Immersion, produces immersive and interactive experiences for Fortune 500 brands, top artists, and global audiences. Vortex's latest shows, James Hood's Mesmerica and Beautification, are positive impact entertainment experiences produced in cooperation with Mood Swings and Poseidon. These award-winning shows are currently screening in 60 plus digital domes and have over 1.3 million tickets sold through worlds in North America and the UK. So with a background in electrical engineering and quantum physics, his research interests include AI and XR in interactive arts and entertainment, engineering standards for XR venues, live XR performances, fine art, visual, music, consciousness research, and more. And this is why we thought he would be the perfect person to speak with us today about the transformative power of XR. So join me in welcoming Ed Lantz. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Here we go. So real pleasure to be here today and speak with you guys. I've been at this for a while now, and I thought maybe I'd start out just saying, like, okay, who's this guy? Where did he come from? Kind of thing. You know, I actually was very inventive as a kid. You know, all the people in the neighborhood brought me their broken TVs and vacuum cleaners to fix, and I was always tinkering and doing Kirlian photography. And I wrote a little sci-fi story as I think when I was around 15 about a performer in the future who could project his consciousness onto these big domes and take audiences on journeys. And the way it went is that if they had to have perfected consciousness, and if they wavered, the audience would get sick. And if they would have very pure mind, they would people would have like even healings, you know, would happen in the theater because they would be transmitting this state of consciousness to the audience. And I kind of forgot about that for a while, but I thought, you know, I'll go into engineering because the future of art and entertainment is going to be technology. So yeah, I got the master's in EE. Studied quantum physics, which is mostly math, you know, which, you know, stretched me a bit. It was good. And then took a job as an aerospace engineer, did that for 7 years, optical signal processing research, and really cool stuff, you know, making computers with lasers and whatnot. But after 7 years of that, I got all these clearances. I saw what I was really working on. I'm like, you know, I want to bring smiles to people's faces and not remove them, you know. So, so I left my job and went to work in a planetarium, which was weird for me because I kept hearing about this opportunity, and it was like, Ed, you really should go interview for that. And I'm like, that's a technician thing, you know. I'm an engineer, you know, and no, they're hiring a PhD engineer, and I'm like, PhD? I'm like, I'm underqualified. And turns out they wanted me to come in and write code to make the sun and the moon go and the star ball and automate all the projectors. Great fun. We tore down the old theater, built the biggest one in Florida, most advanced in the world at the time. And so after some years of that, I took a job, for a planetary manufacturer. And but in 1990, I went to my first SIGGRAPH. 91 actually, Las Vegas. And it's like real-time 3D computing and VR and the cave and all this cool stuff. And I'm working in a dome, and I'm like, this dome fills my field of vision with, what if we could fill it with pixels, you know? So we figured out how to edge blend multiple projectors, and ended up designing about a dozen of those theaters around the world, Library of Alexandria in Egypt, and Mexico City, like all over. So after some years of that, I'm like, you know, this is all planetarium stuff, right? Stars and planets, and now you could take a joystick and fly through a model of the universe, which is really cool in real time. But I'm like, this deserves more. Like, we can do more with this canvas. This is an immersive environment. It's not just a planetarium, right? So I thought, well, and I, I read a book about the guy who started the BET, Black Entertainment Channel. And with $15,000, he started a cable network and became the richest black man in America, you know, richer than Oprah, right? And I'm like, oh, I could do that. So I Googled cable television startup kit, and I got a direct hit. Downloaded the startup kit. It was a business plan template, and long and short of it, I launched the Harmony Channel. It was one of the first VOD networks on Comcast, delivering content designed to elevate your mood. And we had 7 mood zones, and it was really cool. Never got an investor. Investors were like, how are you going to make money in VOD, you know? And of course, everything's on video on demand now, you know, mostly. Streaming is huge. I was just maybe a little ahead of my time. But so then that was my first entrepreneurial thing. And very soon after, I'm like, look, the domes are my passion. So I started Vortex Immersion. And we've done tons of projects all over the world. But this is more my personal side. I took a 2-year class in interfaith studies, and necessarily got ordained as an interfaith minister. That's not why I took it, but I learned about all the different world religions. Very cool. I love drumming. I have a drum circle in Silver Lake, if anybody wants to into that. You know, I've presented at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and I do a lot of nonprofit work too. So that's me. You guys know what XR is, or you wouldn't be here. But I did take a stab at a definition. And basically, it's a computer human interface that exploits our natural, real world sensory, how we operate in the world, gestures, touching, like that, for more natural computer human interaction. But there's some interesting things that come out of that. That I think what I'm seeing coming, and I'm a bit of a futurist, are huge shifts in computer human interaction, arts and entertainment, personal and social transformation. Like, in other words, how can XR help make a better world and help us to be better people, basically? You know, XR for good, maybe you could say. Of course, there's downsides to all technology. I'm not going to go there. I prefer to focus on what I do want than what I don't want. I think it's a good way to be. One thing, and just preparing this, I was like, you know, really AI is integral to all what's happening now, and just about everywhere, right? and there's a lot of parallels between XR and AI. You know, both are optimizing human-machine interface. Both are able to simulate. You know, AI is simulating human consciousness and intelligence and creativity, right? XR simulates our experience in the world or the experience within. And both are extending human agency. So we have the power now to do things that, in some cases, nation states were required to do. So anyway, so I thought I'd just jump around through this a little bit quickly. But, you know, we all know there's like a whole XR ecosystem, and I do roll the dome theaters into that, which has been my primary focus, because the domes to me are a portal into cyberspace and virtual worlds, more of a tour bus for groups of people, although there are interactive domes that you can either with an app or whatever. So to me, it's just an extension, and technically speaking, the domes are called spatial augmented reality. So you're projecting reality around you. And of course, you have the AR goggles that will eventually probably take on all that. But what's really interesting to me is how XR tech, essentially broadband interface to the brain. And we bring a lot of artists into this space and we tell them, when you perform in a dome, your palette, your canvas that you're painting on is the nervous systems of the audience. And you have to respect people's nervous systems, what you're doing to them. So a lot of contemporary programming for film, television, VJs, they're flashing a bunch of stuff up there. When it wraps around your head, it's fundamentally different, affects the brain on a much deeper level, and it's good to be mindful of how you're affecting people. So, in short, XR tech is becoming increasingly powerful. The technologies are democratizing, and especially with AI, everyone's going to be a world builder, using prompts, right? So when you have more powerful technology, you need to be more responsible with how you use it. And you could say the same for film and television. Well, you see what's out there. So you all know VR, AR, various forms bring someone. Instead of texting under a table at dinner, I'd love to be able to just invite who I'm texting to join us for dinner, like that. Of course, you need some kind of taste stimulation or something. I don't know, something you wear, I guess. But of course, the metaverse too. In other words, social worlds. And so what you see happening out there is that this is now coming out into mainstream. And VR, we've been trying to bring it mainstream. Got involved in the early 90s. And it's been an uphill battle because you have to wear this headgear. There's issues, there's onboarding, there's training, there's a lot. And it really, a lot of headsets have been sold, but the people who buy them are not consuming content on a regular basis. Whereas, hey, let's get off the couch and go down to this cool immersive experience. That is working. So it's a way, I call digital domes VR for the masses. It's a way to take people on a tour through cyberspace without them having to wear the headgear. And you might be surprised to know there's over 1,900 digital domes in the world. Many of these are digital planetariums, some are giant screen cinemas. There's pop-up event domes. I've done probably 100 pop-up domes over the years at South by and Comic-Con, Super Bowls. If you want to learn more about all this, there's this great book. I have a chapter in it on domes. There's some great chapters on narrative strategy and whatnot. It's essentially a textbook. Looking at arts and entertainment, what you're seeing now are these digital domes are not just planetariums. There's new ones being built that are really focused on arts and entertainment. The Sphere in Vegas, of course, is the most visible of those. Cosm is here in Inglewood. That's a sports bar on steroids, I call it. Wisdom Art Park is no more, but that was 5 domes in downtown LA in the Arts District. SAT is up in Montreal. Just to look at the Sphere, this is massive. They really did a good job. Of course, $2.3 billion. They better. LED dome, holographic, sound where they can steer the sound to have sound pressure level equalized across the floor and everything. This is, I just shot this from outside. They have a 4K by 2K equirectangular image mapped to the exterior of the dome. They showcase lots of student artists and all like that. This is shot from inside. This is a postcard from Earth. The detail is really incredible. I'm quite impressed with how they really did pull it off. This is YouTube. What can I say about the Sphere? I can nitpick a few things, but it's massive. And you can see here the band, they're like little ants running around trying to impress you, right? And if it wasn't for the iMac putting their images up on the dome, you might not even know they're there, right? And so what I'm focused on are smaller domes where the performers that you put in the environment. The environment is like a stage set around them, a set extension into infinite space from the stage. So you can meaningfully interact with the imagery on the dome. And if you get more than, say, 2,000, 2,500 seats, the dome scale's great. People don't scale. Anyway, what's interesting about the Sphere is same basic theater design as the first OmniMax Theater in 1973, Reuben H. Fleet Science Center in Balboa Park, San Diego. And that was an IMAX projector. So 30-degree tilt, same basic thing. We put up a little dome in downtown LA that was operating for 10 years until the pandemic. It's like, why are we paying rent for something we can't use? But we did so much stuff there over those years. Oh yeah, these are some of the planetariums I designed when I was working for the company that's now COSM. Fun projects, lots of mobile domes. I can talk about some of these projects in more detail. The Meatwad full dome experience was a lot of fun. Adult Swim, NBC Universal with Constantine and Xbox Connect. We did two years in a row at Super Bowls for them. And we prototyped at our Vortex Dome lots of live performances. Wisdom, our colleagues, did these live bands, tribute bands that were very popular. They all sold out, $60 ticket, 800 people. This is a 200-foot diameter pop-up dome we did at the Coliseum downtown for the Marcus Pearson, the founder of Minecraft, and 3,000 or 4,000 of his closest friends on Facebook, I guess. This is Donald Glover. This is a 160-foot diameter dome we popped up in the desert in Joshua Tree. 5 concerts over 3 days, 2,500 people per concert in this dome. And this shows the projector design that I did. It was 12 20,000 or 30,000 lumen projectors on that dome. So that was a lot of fun, and got to work with some top talent there. But we also did, artsy, edgy stuff, right? Like this is a performance art piece. We put a fisheye camera under a plexiglass dome, and this artist, dripped paint on the dome, and we projected it up on the big dome, right? So it was like a live art performance. We did a ballet with an 83-year-old choreographer, a ballet choreographer, Stefan Winter. We worked with Amrita Sen to create a show called Bali Doll, which was an immersive stage performance. This is a pilot we did for MTV.
The hottest dance party in the world, coming at you live from downtown LA. From your bedroom, your parents' kitchen, from your cell phone, we want to stream you on live TV. So flip on that webcam, you've just arrived at Top Floor.
Anyway, I want to get to the good stuff here. Oh, this is a little sizzle reel from my company. And there's clips from different events that we've done. This is for a Masonic Museum and Library. And this is a product launch of an airplane we put on a big LED stage, hybrid event. This is yet to come. This is a Domeplex. Got an elevator stage in there. Anyway, so if you're into the Dome stuff, by the way, we have an annual film festival called Dome Fest West. Just happened in Boulder. We're talking to them about 2027 because Sundance is moving to Boulder, so that could be a lot of fun. But there's some great this show, God, Science, and Our Search for Meaning, really pushed the envelope in planetarium programming, which is usually so rigidly science-based that you can't speculate. You're not allowed to of course, speculation and imagination are the leading edge of science. So they're starting to loosen up a little bit and ask the big questions and get people thinking about that. So, and this is just showing where this can go. You have Dome live performance, you have Dome casting to multiple domes, you also VR cast to headsets. So you can have millions of people joining a live event. You can have performers coming in remotely, and it can all be tied together with a social network that has AR capability. And so you're in the metaverse, you're in the real verse. I'm working on engineering standards for XR venues, which is through a group called MPI. It's the guys who started MPEG, Motion Picture Experts Group. This is the motion pictures powered by AI, and we're looking at how to create a digital twin, real virtual world concurrent event that goes across both of those domains.
It all started with a marshmallow concert. It was an interactive virtual event that took place within the popular video game Fortnite, and it was the first of its kind within the metaverse. Metaverse, the word that's been popping up everywhere recently, is a virtual community. And within that community, people can play games, work, or in this case, attend a concert. Fortnite's concert was a huge success. Nearly 11 million people live streamed the event, and today, that number is north of 60 million on YouTube. And that was just the beginning. A little over a year later, it was announced that rapper Travis Scott would venture into the virtual concert space. And just like marshmallows, it was a massive success. Travis Scott's show proved how profitable these virtual concerts could be. And just like real-life concerts, there's merchandise to be sold. Lots of it. In addition to the physical merch, players can also purchase skins and emotes, which are dance moves and other actions your character can perform within the game. And all that can add up. Scott reportedly grossed $20 million from his Fortnite collaboration, including merchandise sales. That's a huge number considering his entire Astroworld tour from the year before grossed $53.5 million. Following Fortnite's success, other companies like Pokemon have followed suit, creating a virtual concert for its 25th anniversary with Post Malone in February. And in August, Ariana Grande hosted a virtual concert and is reportedly set to make the same amount as Travis Scott. And now, Justin Bieber is the latest pop star to announce a concert in the metaverse space, partnering with virtual entertainment company Wave. Wave's virtual concerts will be performed live, unlike Fortnite shows, and people will be able to send emotes that the performer can see in real time. It will be interesting to watch the evolution of these virtual concerts and the revenue they generate for the companies and the artists that partner with them.
cool stuff. So this is how, and this is, you can see there's a monetary model for this. Okay, this is not just like experimental stuff anymore. So we're seeing an ecosystem of domes from small retreat domes all the way up to large dome plexes. That's what's coming. We've been designing these dome plexes, pitching them to developers. I'm on a project in Fort Lauderdale right now that's being funded. So it's been a process, getting big money from big developers who are highly skeptical, don't want to put their money, a 400 unit apartment complex, no problem, but domes, what's that, but now we can point to the sphere. That's been very helpful. And what we're seeing is this architecture where you have a level floor dome in the center, you have this tilted dome theater with an elevator stage up front. So the stage can drop, and now you just have a giant IMAX dome-like experience. You fly to Alien Planet. As you land on the planet, the stage rises with alien trees on it, synchronous with the trees rising up on the dome, and it's just one big gestalt effect, right? That's what's coming. So, so I wanted to talk about personal transformation, and for me, what the world really needs right now is there's a Moore's Law curve for technology. Technology is giving us personal power. Like any fool with a smartphone can be an influencer of millions of people, right? That's okay, but what you get is what's within. So the only solution I see for this all to work out is we need a Moore's Law curve for wisdom. How do we accelerate wisdom on a mass scale? So, I mean, AI, I'm sure, can play a big role in that. These are just different wisdom skills that one might want to develop. What's interesting about the domes is that, traditional film and television, I call it the low-hanging fruit of storytelling, because you have, like the cliffhanger. Is he going to fall? Or is he going to shoot her? Or, oh, they broke up. And, they're pulling your emotional heartstrings, right? It's real easy to evoke those kind of emotions. But awe, bringing people into deep states of mindfulness or relaxation or for restorative experiences, a feeling of ecstasy or bliss. It's like these are harder emotions to access through film or television. The domes, immersive media, VR, much easier to access those sorts of emotions. And they're very pleasurable emotions. Awe is like, well, it's awesome, right? So, and people will buy tickets to have an awe experience. There's a whole science of awe now. You can do the research. I didn't put links in here, but basically people who experience awe are more pro-social, less fear of the future, less need to be right, and they're more altruistic. And it's like, wow, what if we could help that to happen on a mass scale? Wouldn't that be cool? I think that's kind of what the world needs right now. Also with the domes, what's interesting is you start getting into being able to take people not only fly over the Grand Canyon, you can take them into worlds of imagination. You can take them into the mind of an artist. And this is very interesting to me. Phenomenology is, like the looking within, study of looking within, and how do you communicate something that's ineffable, that can't be put into words? Well, of course, music has good at that, but now with immersive media. So I use this example, what if you're a Zen master trying to teach a student how to achieve a brain state? It might be like, well, meditate on your breath for 7 years, and come back and talk to me, right? Well, what if you could fly into the mind of the Zen master and experience their world, their inner world? And I think the domes can do that. It's like you're now able to bring people into these and even evoke these states of consciousness. I call it phenomenological cinema as compared to like cosmological cinema, where you're flying people through the universe or physical domain. Now we're flying people into the domain, the informational domain of mind. And there's a lot here I could get into with narrative modeling, simulation, evoking different brain states. There's another thing that I've experienced that I felt very transformative for me personally. And the word people are using for it now is collective effervescence. And you get that at music festivals where everybody's there together, you're all in it together, you're celebrating, oh wow, this is so cool, we're all, and you start to forget like politics and philosophies and ideologies. You transcend those things. And there's all kinds of examples of this, the Hajj in Saudi Arabia, the spiritual gatherings, Burning Man. Burning Man is a community that I ran into in the 90s that I'm like, this is interesting. We're prototyping new ways of being and relating, like alternative culture almost like. And it's only for a couple of weeks or a week or whatever, but it was very inspiring for me. Also, transformative experiences, EDM, I think is one. And when I'm looking at all this, I'm like, shamans used to manage the psyche of their tribe. They go deep within, they come out with a vision for the tribe, and they communicate it through song or dance or masks, and drumming and around a fire and this sort of thing. And so I'm like, oh, this is kind of like techno shamanism, harmonizing human consciousness on a mass scale. How do we do that? Bring people into a state of consciousness where you're not focused so much on the differences. You're just feeling like, wow, we're all on this planet together. Similar to the overview effect that they talk about, Edgar Mitchell and those guys astronauts who've been in space and see the Earth from space. Go, oh my God, there's no borders or boundaries, and the atmosphere is paper thin, and that's our whole world, and like we're floating, like we're a mote of dust floating in a vast space, as Carl Sagan used to say. So the idea here is work on yourself, transform yourself, embody some higher state, there's many, and then share that through your music, through your art, through experiences that you create. In other words, be mindful of how you're influencing people's nervous systems. So these are some shows that we created that are doing quite well. At Beatifica, Mesmerica, those two shows are playing in over 60 venues currently. Sold 1.3 million tickets. Here's a little ditty on Mesmerica.
I want this experience to inspire you into taking a journey with me inside your mind, to engage your senses with this miraculous alchemy of sound and light.
So we use a lot of abstract art, a lot of colors, positive psychology. Some people call it trippy or psychedelic, but it's really, mesmerizing. James Hood, the artist, is an NLP practitioner, neuro-linguistic programming. Similar to hypnosis, I think.
There's no logic, there's no analysis. It's all about fantasy and imagination and the impossible. Our minds have got into the habit of thinking that we have to be thinking all the time. I don't think that's true. I think that not thinking is very powerful.
Mesmerica is a hour-long, fully immersive show that is a combination of James Hood's music along with artists and their works of art, animation from all over the world.
Mesmerica uses the power of immersive media that fills your field of vision to evoke unique brain states. So in particular, he's using the power of the format to evoke positive brain states like happiness.
The concept behind Mesmerica is to bring a sense of well-being to the audience. It's playful, it's awe-inspiring, it creates a sense of wonder.
Well, this show is unique because it's multidimensional. So you have the imagery that goes on over your head in the dome. Then you also have James' performance on stage. You don't really see a lot of live shows that do that. It's kind of one or the other. It's quite a unique show, and James is quite a unique performer. We love his vibe. We love what he brings to the table.
So working with James is particularly interesting because he is an incredible collaborator, and the music is really sort of my script of what images to use and when and how fast to make them and what transitions to use. So when you come in and see this show, it really will transport you into hopefully something really, really cool that you've never seen before.
I would like people to feel happier than when they came in, and to realize that that came from within them, and their own awareness purged them of some bad mood or some stress, and they feel just a little bit lighter and a little bit maybe inspired by what you can do with your own awareness.
And this is our very first show that we're premiering at the San Diego Planetarium, and it's sold out. The first show sold out. So we added a second show, which also sold out in just 2.5 days.
Yeah, it was phenomenal, unreal, something that I've never seen before.
I recommend it because you would feel more happy and more relaxed.
I feel so elevated, and I feel so light right now. I feel happy.
It was beyond words. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like it before in my life.
My favorite part was the way that the visuals came at you. It surprised your brain. You never knew what to expect.
It was almost like overwhelming the way it would make you feel.
It almost became an out-of-body experience. It was absolutely amazing. Everybody should come check this out.
Really great. I love how they played I think it's a happy drum, and all of that in the light suit that the guy was wearing. That was a pretty cool show.
I didn't realize the hour was over.
Yeah,
I was like, wait, it's done. Oh no.
You really have to see it rather than talk about it, but we hope everyone that's intrigued or interested will get an opportunity to have that experience. Over the next year, we're going to tour and take this to planetariums and domes all over the world.
And in a lot of ways, the audience are the star of the show, because it's their awareness that we're trying to play with, and to try and scoop them up and take them on a journey inside their own minds.
Cool stuff. People come out of these shows crying sometimes, you know, it's pretty interesting. So, there's lights there, whatever. So anyway, moving on, there's all kinds of these transformative technologies out there for personal use. But now you look at, okay, social transformation. And, you know, art is powerful, has transformative potential. Music, you know, it's been used as a healing agent, and, you know, powerful mood altering agent. You know, a lot's been said about this, a lot's been published, there's studies, you can look into that. Of course, storytelling, the universe is made of stories, not atoms, right? That's a great quote. So, you know, you put all these together, and what you have is a format that can have incredible social impact on a mass scale. And there's already 1,900 domes. Many of them are experimenting with new content like what we're doing. But there's also these arts and entertainment domes going up, and the sky's the limit with that. Just as there's cineplexes in every city, there could be domes in every city, right? So I would encourage you, there's lots of groups out there that are focused on positive social impact entertainment, not just entertainment, but you know, we've done symposiums here on that. So I'd encourage you to check into the SIE Society. We have a conference every year at the Skirball in December, which is if you're into this sort of thing. So what are we doing about it? Well, you know, we want to put domes up in communities, you know, both permanent, but also these semi-permanent pop-up sort of structures, and bring in all kinds of programming, educational, live entertainment, creative placemaking, wellness, you know, special events, you know, there's all kinds of stuff out there. This is one little ditty, I'll show you here. This is This is a performance ensemble that came out of, I think, USC, and we worked with them to create this performance. The performance started with creative placemaking, drum circles and little activities, and then it moved into the dome, and pretty cool show. Now, of course, these performers could have mocap suits controlling digital twins in the metaverse as they're performing. What's coming is real-time volumetric scanning, so that you can actually take their image and likeness exactly as a 3D model and put it into the metaverse, right? So anyway, I'm going to move on here. So now what's interesting is when the pandemic hit, my festival that I love to frequent, Burning Man, moved into the metaverse. And a group of people created an incredible reproduction of the Burning Man playa in the metaverse. What's interesting about Burning Man, just like the metaverse, you can explore new ways of being, new ways of interacting, artistic self-expression, radical self-expression is encouraged, so you can allow parts of you to come out that maybe you're holding back because you're afraid you might not fit in, Everyone's a participant, and it's all user-generated content, and then it uses art as a spectacle or community focus, and to transcend all the ideologies and philosophies and political differences, right? So we created our own Burning Man camp after experiencing this and making long-term relationships. I'm like, well, let's do our own camp. So we put up 5 domes, and we were able to map our shows to the domes, and it was amazing. I mean, we had 9,500 visits over 2 weeks, and I'm like, wow, that's not bad. Considering all the onboarding that was required to get into alt space. Unfortunately, alt space is no more. But we also did other things in the metaverse, like an NFT exhibition, immersive NFT exhibition, and we created Domelandia for that. This is a little ditty from that, if I have time. So, this is alt space VR. It's a little, the avatars are a little clunky, they're a little cartoonish. There's better ones now. But we had these different dome screening rooms you could go into. Most of the artists that we're showcasing here had never produced dome content before, so we brought them in, trained them, and they were all like blown away. They're like, this is so cool. Because you get to put on the headset and you're in the virtual, you're in their art. So, and we also did Film Fest, our Dome Fest West Film Fest. We took into the metaverse and had a closing party with DJs. This is Celeste, who's a DJ who performs in the metaverse. And she was able to bring her live image in of her DJing, with her headset on. It was cool stuff. I mean, then we had a little dome in there too, and there's like little interactive things you can play with in there. It's quite fun. So these like wands that you can pick up and twirl, and you've got a headset on, you've got controllers, and that's your your head motion is being tracked, and your hand motion is being tracked, and you have controls, triggers, and things. You can grab things. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, want to end on the whole AI thing. And I haven't talked much about AI, and there's so much to say about it. It's like kind of overwhelming. But I thought, and this is kind of old news already. If you haven't seen Sora, but what's happening? These are videos created from prompts, and you have. It shows the prompt for each video here. I mean, to stage that and shoot that in live action, you're running into some money there. And this is something people created in just minutes. And it's only going to get better and better, and it's going to map onto the whole dome. And our artists are experimenting way beyond this now. This is 6 months old or whatever. It's just moving so fast. So there's a lot of short films out there being created in AI. But bottom line here is, this is democratizing. People can create ultimately their own virtual worlds and inhabit those worlds and invite their friends to join them there. This is what's coming. And I see it going two ways. One is the holodeck, where we project AR, you project around you or with the goggles or whatever. The other is VR, where maybe your body's floating in an amniotic fluid with cords hooked into your brain, like in the Matrix. Of course, you're in cyberspace with all your friends. So, but this is just unleashing people's imaginations, because to produce this kind of stuff, you have to hire a team of animators, of filmmakers, whatever. So that's all I have. We'll stop here. Thanks, guys. And I guess we have a few minutes.
Yeah, we have a few minutes for questions. So I want to open up to the floor if there's any questions. And we'll start with, what would you recommend to anybody who's interested in doing what you do? You have such an incredible background and took a circuitous path to get where you are. And so I'm wondering, for any students who want to do this kind of work in the future, what would you recommend that they practice, learn, study in order to do?
Well, what's interesting is that, and no, I'm not picking up your phone call. What's interesting is that there's many portals into this space, right? You could be a writer, you could be an animator, you could be a programmer, you could be a thespian, right? You could build stage sets, and what's cool about the domes is, and I gave a talk at the, what was it, up in Canada, Prince Edward Island. They flew me up there to speak, and it was all the owners of performing arts centers coming together for this big, thing, and I got up and I said, because they were all like, "What is this VR thing?" We stand on a stage, we make eye contact with the audience, and we interact, and we're, drama. How do you do that in VR? And I said, well, the domes, you stand on a stage, you have the virtual environment around you, and you can do what you do, and they were just blown away. How can I get a dome? Of course, when they find out what it costs, it's like building, a whole new performing arts center. But certainly, I've mentored a lot of artists. If somebody's interested, you can, it's my contact info. Dome Fest West, I mentioned, is a really good portal into the dome space. There's XR is a big field. So, I think whatever your skills are, I think can find a home there.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other questions?
Accounting.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentation. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by a community dome and how you define a community?
Yeah, absolutely. a lot of money. Well, the planetariums were mostly built using federal, state, and local funding. Um, Olympic-sized swimming pools were built. Playgrounds were built. This is all public money going into facilities that serve the community and help keep people healthy, keep them fit, keep them right. I think mental fitness now is something that's really important, and especially post-pandemic, a lot of people are still suffering from PTSD. And what I'm seeing is a movement towards wanting to build community centers that really focus on this creative placemaking, bringing people together to do projects together, civic meetings. And the domes are really great for that. You can only do so much with a PowerPoint. When you're presenting in a dome, it's like you're a master of the universe. You're controlling people's sense of place and spatial awareness. You can have well-being, programming, this sort of thing. So you come in, and it's sort of like an active meditation, eyes open meditation, but it draws you in, and the patterns pull you in, and the monkey mind is like fascinated, and you kind of slow down, and you're like, wow, and then other stuff starts flooding in that you've been maybe holding under the surface, right? So there's mental health benefits. I think having multiple domes. One is a dedicated cinema, another one's a floor where you can have dance parties, banquets, cocktail parties, whatever. I just see it as a great magnet for pulling people together, and that's what creates community and strengthens communities, right? Does that kind of address?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question.
Thanks so much. Just inspiring talk, and I wish we had a dome here at UCLA.
Working on it.
Working on it, right? So my question is, let's see if I can frame this. It's kind of, so there's a lot of people having experiences in different ways, and so there's the dome, and then as you showed, there's the metaverse, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on how do we connect people across these different modes of experiences. So like you showed, I think there was one shot where people were inside the dome, but there was also live streaming to people dancing from their phone. And I thought that was a really cool way to connect people in and outside the dome. So I'd just love to hear your thoughts on, connecting people on an even wider scale.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, ultimately, if you're a world builder and a storyteller, you're creating assets that can bridge across all the different immersive media. So if it's a immersive Van Gogh, kind of a gallery, you can map out to that. If it's a dome or VR, you could go full sphere in VR and actually look down. Whereas in the dome, it's a hemisphere, because if it's filled with lots of people, there's only a hemispheric field of view available, right, that everyone can see. So, and then, of course, everybody's got mobile, right? I think there's a convergence, slowly coming towards a convergence, and also with AI. Look at how many apps we have on our phones now. It's ridiculous. I want one dashboard. I want it to be my AI dashboard, and then it goes out and creates accounts on apps that needed to serve my demands, right, my needs. So I think this is all starting to converge. It's going to get really interesting. And my concern is when everywhere you go, there's pixels in your field of vision. What are we doing to people, right? Are we flashing ads wherever you go? Like Minority Report or whatever. You walk down the street and it's calling out your name. It's doing the retina scan. It knows who you are, and so I think it's really important to bring beauty into these worlds and fun, and whatever. But just be conscious of what we're creating. Like, what kind of world do we want to build for ourselves? Because we're about to see there's a sea change happening, and if it continues as it has been, you're gonna be in an augmented world wherever you go. I mean, unless you check out and get into the woods, but even there, who knows? You might be wearing your AR glasses, telling you what kind of trees those are, and oh, I just spotted a monkey up there, check it out, and stuff like that, right? I don't know, so I'm concerned about the psychological impact of all this. And it doesn't mean, we got to pass laws, or it just means let's be mindful of what we're creating and how we're affecting people. But yes, as I was showing in that one diagram, the domes, the metaverse, AR on your mobile, all of that can come together in an integrated system. And there is a movement in metaverse now to move away from walled gardens, right? There's, in fact, rp1.com, if you look that up, these guys are trying to say, look, the metaverse should be accessible through a metaverse browser, just like a web browser. And your web browser can access 1 billion websites on the planet. Should be the same for the metaverse. That's what's coming. So it's going to get real interesting. Anyway, I think we're out of time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ed, for kicking us off with this amazing keynote. Just join me in giving one more round of applause.
Thanks, guys.